The chamber was enormous, built to hold thousands of beings from across the galaxy. Jaewon Kim stood alone on the platform, her hands clasped behind her back as she watched the alien delegates whisper among themselves. She had been Earth's ambassador for 5 years now, and she knew that look. They thought they had caught humanity doing something wrong. Above her, the massive viewing screens showed images of the asteroid belt near Jupiter. Bright energy signatures pulsed in the darkness of space, captured by Dralian surveillance drones 3 months ago. The images looked damning, she had to admit. Massive power readings in an area where Earth claimed to have only mining operations. Counselor Vexstar rose from his seat, his scaled body gleaming under the chamber lights. The Dralian was tall, nearly 3 meters, and his voice carried authority that came from ruling over 40 star systems. Ambassador Kim, he said, his translator converting his words into standard galactic. Earth has violated the Armament Limitation Treaty. The evidence is clear. Those power signatures indicate military construction on a scale that threatens the peace of this sector. Jaewon didn't flinch. She had expected this. Counselor, Earth operates mining and refining facilities throughout our home system. Energy signatures are common in industrial operations. Not at this scale, Vexstar countered. He gestured to the screens, and the images changed. Now they showed comparative data from other species' industrial sites. None came close to the readings from Jupiter's orbit. We have conducted industrial operations for thousands of years. We know the difference between a mining station and a weapons facility. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Jaewon noticed Commander Hyunwoo Park standing in the observer section, his face carefully neutral. He was her military attaché, though most aliens didn't know he had once commanded Earth's largest battlecruiser. His presence here was deliberate, a quiet reminder that Earth wasn't helpless. High Arbiter Kel Nath, the ancient being who led the council, raised one of his 6 arms. Silence fell immediately. The council acknowledges Earth's explanation, he said, his voice like wind through canyon. However, the evidence presented raises legitimate concerns. For the security of all member species, Earth must allow immediate inspection of these facilities. This was the moment Jaewon had been waiting for. Earth respects the Council's concerns, she said clearly. However, we request 30 days to prepare for inspection. Some of our facilities contain proprietary industrial processes that require time to secure. 30 days. Vexstar's laugh was harsh. 30 days to hide whatever weapons you're building. 30 days to move evidence. The Council cannot accept such delay. Other voices joined in. The Vortons, the Kresh, the Mandorians, all species that had little love for humanity. Earth was young compared to most galactic civilizations, only 300 years since first contact. Many older species still saw humans as upstarts who had advanced too quickly. Jaewon waited for the noise to die down. Earth has been a loyal member of this council, she said. We have honored every treaty, contributed to joint defense initiatives, and opened our worlds to trade. We ask only for reasonable time to accommodate this inspection while protecting our legitimate industrial secrets. Legitimate secrets, Vexstar repeated. The very phrase proves guilt. The Dralian Empire moves that Earth be given 7 days, not 30. And, if they refuse inspection, we should consider this a hostile act. The vote happened quickly. Species after species supported the Dralian position. Even nations that had friendly relations with Earth voted yes, perhaps afraid of appearing weak. When the final count came, it was overwhelming. 41 species in favor, 7 against, 3 abstentions. Earth had 7 days. Jaewon showed no emotion. She had expected this too. Earth will comply with the Council's decision, she said. We will welcome inspectors in 7 days at the coordinates you provided. You may bring whatever scanning equipment you wish. As she spoke, Hyunwoo moved closer to the platform. To any observer, it looked like he was simply repositioning himself. But, Jaiwan saw his hand touch his communication device twice. 2 taps. The signal. However, Jaiwan continued, her voice calm, I want to state clearly for the record that Earth has violated no treaties. Our industrial operations are exactly that, industrial. The Council is welcome to verify this. We have nothing to hide. Something in her tone made Vextar pause. For just a moment, uncertainty crossed his reptilian features. But, then, his confidence returned. Of course you have nothing to hide, he said. Because you know we're coming to look. The session ended shortly after. As the delegates filed out, many cast glances at Jaiwan. Some looked triumphant, others curious. The human ambassador had surrendered too easily. That worried the smarter ones. In the corridor outside, Hyun-woo fell into step beside Jaiwan. They walked in silence until they reached a secure area, one of the few places in the council building that was checked daily for surveillance devices. Protocol silence? Hyun-woo asked quietly. Yes, Jaiwan confirmed. Send the authorization codes. All 7 stages. Hyun-woo's expression didn't change, but his eyes showed satisfaction. They're really going to regret this. Maybe, Jaiwan said. Or maybe they'll finally understand why Earth has been so quiet these past few decades. We weren't hiding because we were weak. No, Hyun-woo agreed. We were hiding because we were being polite. Back in the chamber, the various species were already planning their inspection fleets. The Dralians were assembling their 3rd armada, ostensibly for peacekeeping, but everyone knew it was a show of force. Other nations contributed ships and personnel. Within hours, the largest inspection fleet in galactic history was being organized. Vextar met with his advisors in his private quarters. The humans folded quickly, one of them noted. Too quickly, Vextar said. He was ambitious but not stupid. I want surveillance satellites positioned around their entire system. If they try to move anything, I want to know immediately. You think they have something to hide? I think Ambassador Kim was too calm. Too confident. Either they truly have nothing, or... He paused, considering. Or they have something they believe we can't do anything about even if we find it. That's impossible. Earth's navy is small. Respectable for their age, but nothing compared to ours. Vextar remembered the look in Jaiwan's eyes as she accepted the inspection. Perhaps. But, Earth has surprised us before. Their advancement has been unusual. Faster than any species in recorded history. Lucky, his advisor said dismissively. Perhaps, Vextar repeated. But, he wasn't convinced. And, that made him very uncomfortable. Across the galaxy, Earth received the news. In the capital city of New Seoul, President Jae-hyun-oh read the report from Jaiwan and smiled slightly. So it begins, he said to his military council. They took the bait. Should we be concerned about the Dralian armada? An admiral asked. No, the president said. They'll inspect, find nothing suspicious, and leave. And, then, we wait. Wait for what? For them to make the mistake of thinking they understand us. The inspection fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system exactly 7 days later. 47 vessels from 19 different species, all bristling with sensors and scanning equipment. It was the largest peacetime assembly of military force in decades, and everyone in the galaxy was watching. Inspector General Thexol stood on the bridge of his Vorton command ship, studying the displays. The Vortons were known throughout the galaxy as the best investigators, their 4 eyes capable of seeing details others missed. If Earth was hiding something, Thexol would find it. Human vessels approaching, his sensor officer reported. 7 ships. Military classification. Thexol watched as the human fleet came into view. They were sleek vessels, well-maintained, their weapons powered down in a gesture of non-aggression. Leading them was the HSN Incheon, Earth's flagship for this region. A communication request came through. Thexol accepted it, and a human woman appeared on the screen. She wore the dark blue uniform of the human space navy, her rank insignia marking her as a fleet admiral. Inspector General Thexol, she said with a slight bow. I am Fleet Admiral Minji Choi. On behalf of Earth and humanity, welcome to the Sol system. We are prepared to facilitate your inspection in every way possible. Her politeness was perfect, almost scripted. Thexol had seen guilty species behave this way before, trying to appear cooperative while hiding their crimes. Admiral Choi, we require immediate access to the facilities near Jupiter's orbit. The coordinates have been provided to your government. Of course, Minji replied smoothly. My ships will escort yours to the designated areas. Please be aware that some of the installations are currently processing valuable materials. For safety reasons, we ask that you observe standard industrial protocols. We will observe whatever we deem necessary, Vextar's voice cut in. The Dralian counselor had accompanied the fleet personally, unwilling to miss Earth's humiliation. This is not a friendly visit, Admiral. This is an investigation. Minji's expression didn't change. Understood, Counselor. Earth will cooperate fully. We have prepared detailed documentation of all our operations in this region. You'll find everything in order. The fleet moved deeper into the Sol system. Past Mars, past the asteroid belt, toward the gas giant Jupiter. As they traveled, Thexol's sensors constantly scanned for anomalies. Earth had civilian traffic throughout the system, cargo ships and passenger vessels, but nothing military beyond the escort fleet. Captain Do-hyun Lee commanded the HSN Incheon, watching the alien fleet with careful attention. His orders were simple: be cooperative, be professional, and, under no circumstances reveal anything about protocol silence. He had served in the human space navy for 20 years and had never heard of protocol silence until 3 days ago when the encrypted orders arrived. They're running deep scans, his sensor officer reported. Trying to penetrate our hull shielding. Let them look, Do-hyun said calmly. They won't find anything they shouldn't. The inspection fleet reached Jupiter's orbit and found exactly what Earth had promised: mining and refining facilities. Dozens of installations, each one processing materials from the asteroid belt and Jupiter's moons. They looked completely ordinary. Thexol frowned at his displays. Where are the energy signatures? He demanded. The readings that brought us here. His sensor officer checked and rechecked the data. They're gone, sir. I'm detecting normal industrial power levels, but nothing like what we recorded 3 months ago. Impossible, Vextar said, pushing forward on Thexol's bridge. They were building something. They must have moved it or hidden it. Thexol was more methodical. Begin detailed scans of every facility. Check for hidden compartments, shielded areas, anything that could conceal military equipment. The inspection took 3 days. Teams from various species boarded the human installations, examined the equipment, reviewed the records. They found mining drones, refining equipment, storage facilities, and living quarters for the workers. Everything was documented, everything had proper permits and registration. On the 3rd day, Thexol had to admit defeat. There is nothing here, he told Vextar. These are legitimate industrial operations. No, Vextar insisted. They hid something. They had 3 months since we detected those readings. They moved whatever they were building. Moved it where? Thexol asked reasonably. We have surveillance data for the entire system. No large vessels entered or left. No unusual energy readings anywhere else. If they built something, it would still be here. Minji Choi appeared in the command center of the inspection fleet's lead ship, having been invited to explain the discrepancy. Counselor Vexstar, she said, the energy signatures you detected were from a test of our new fusion refinement process. It creates temporary power spikes as the system calibrates. The process is now complete and running at normal levels. I don't believe you, Vexstar said flatly. Minji shrugged slightly. Belief is not required, Counselor. The evidence speaks for itself. Earth has violated no treaties. We have cooperated fully with this inspection. Unless you have proof of wrongdoing, this investigation is complete. Vexstar wanted to argue further, but he had no grounds. The other species in the inspection fleet were already preparing to leave. They had found nothing, and their governments wouldn't support an extended occupation based on suspicion alone. This isn't over, Vexstar warned. The Dralian Empire will be watching Earth closely. Earth welcomes observation, Minji replied calmly. Transparency builds trust, does it not? As the inspection fleet began to depart, Vexstar made one final move. He authorized 6 surveillance satellites to remain in the Sol system, positioned to monitor all major traffic routes. It violated several treaties about sovereign space, but he disguised them as navigation assistance and dared Earth to complain. Minji watched the satellites deploy and said nothing. On the bridge of the Incheon, Do-hyun Lee received another encrypted message. This time it contained only 2 words, Stage 2. He deleted the message immediately and went about his duties as if nothing had changed. The inspection fleet scattered, each species returning to their home territories. Most considered it a waste of time. A few, like Thexo, remained puzzled by the energy readings that had disappeared. But, without evidence, there was nothing more to investigate. Vexstar returned to the Dralian Empire angry and frustrated. Increase our military presence along the border with human space, he ordered his admirals. I want the Third Armada position to respond to any threat from Earth. You truly believe the humans are planning something? An admiral asked. I believe they're hiding something, Vexstar corrected. And, I believe they're too confident. That confidence comes from somewhere. I want to know what it is before they use it against us. On Earth, President Jae-hyun-oh reviewed the inspection reports with satisfaction. They found nothing, he confirmed to his council. Because there was nothing to find where they looked, an admiral noted. Exactly, the president agreed. The question now is whether they'll leave us alone or whether they'll push further. The surveillance satellites suggest they'll push, another council member said. Good, the president said, surprising everyone. Let them push. Let them think they have us surrounded and watched. It will make the revelation that much more effective. Fleet Admiral Minji Choi stood in her private quarters aboard the Incheon, looking out at Jupiter's swirling storms. Somewhere out there, invisible to every scanner in the galaxy, were the fruits of 3 decades of human engineering. Hidden in fold space, waiting for the right moment. She touched her communication device. Admiral Song, she said quietly. Status update. A woman's voice responded, crisp and professional. All 7 units are ready, Admiral Choi. On your order, we can deploy anywhere in known space within 4 hours. Maintain readiness, Minji said. I have a feeling we won't have to wait much longer. Vexstar is looking for an excuse to test us. When he finds one, we'll give him an education he'll never forget. Understood, Admiral Yoonji Song replied. We'll be ready. The communication ended. Minji returned to watching Jupiter, a slight smile on her face. The galaxy thought it knew humanity's strength. They had counted Earth's ships, measured their weapons, assessed their capabilities. They had done all the obvious analysis. But, they had never asked the right question: what had humanity been doing in the shadows while everyone was watching the light? 2 weeks after the failed inspection, trouble came to the frontier. The colony world of New Jeju in the Tau Ceti system had been humanity's home for 70 years. 3 generations of families had built lives there, farming the rich soil and mining the valuable minerals. It was peaceful, productive, and very far from Earth. Governor Sujin Han was reviewing agricultural reports when the emergency alert sounded. She rushed to the command center, her heart pounding. The display showed what she had feared for years, warships dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. "How many?" she asked. 207 vessels, Governor, the sensor officer replied, his voice tight. "Dralian military configuration. It's the Third Armada." Sujin felt cold. The Dralian Third Armada was legendary, one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. And it had just arrived at her peaceful colony world. Captain Young-Soo Kong commanded New Jeju's defense force, which consisted of 8 patrol ships. Good for pirates and smugglers, utterly inadequate against an armada. He was already on the communication link when Sujin arrived. "Governor, we need to evacuate," he said immediately. "We can't fight that fleet." "Where would we go?" Sujin asked. "We have 50,000 people here. The nearest human world is 3 weeks away. Earth is even farther." A communication request came from the Dralian fleet. Sujin accepted it, and Warlord Kravesh appeared on the screen. He was even larger than Counselor Vextar, his scales darker, his eyes cold and calculating. "Human colony," he said without preamble. "I am Warlord Kravesh of the Dralian Empire. This system is contested territory under the Treaty of Borders. By authority of the Galactic Council, I am claiming jurisdiction and ordering immediate evacuation of all human presence." Sujin's mind raced. The Treaty of Borders was decades old and specifically excluded Tau Ceti because humanity had established a permanent settlement before the treaty was signed. "Warlord, this system is not contested. New Jeju is a recognized colony, registered with the Council." "Your registration is being challenged," Kravesh replied. "New evidence suggests the original settlement date was falsified. Until this matter is resolved, the Dralian Empire is assuming control. You have 12 hours to begin evacuation. Any resistance will be considered an act of war." The communication cut off before Sujin could respond. She stared at the blank screen, anger and fear warring inside her. "He's lying," she said. "The settlement dates are documented. This is just an excuse." "Does it matter?" Young-Soo asked quietly. "We can't fight them, Governor. Those ships could destroy this entire colony in minutes." Sujin thought of the families in the farming settlements, the children in the schools, the elderly who had spent their entire lives building this world. "Contact Earth," she ordered. "Emergency priority. We need help." The quantum communication link connected within seconds, using technology that allowed instant contact across light years. Sujin explained the situation to the crisis response team on Earth. They listened, asked questions, and, then, told her to wait while they consulted with higher authorities. 20 minutes later, the response came. It was a recorded message from Fleet Admiral Minji Choi herself. "Governor Han, Earth has received your distress call. We understand the situation is critical. However, our nearest fleet assets are 16 days away by conventional faster-than-light travel. The Dralian claim has no legal merit, and we have filed protests with the Galactic Council. In the meantime, you are authorized to take all necessary defensive measures. Hold your position. Relief is closer than they think." Sujin played the message 3 times, focusing on those final words. Relief is closer than they think. What did that mean? Young-Soo heard it too. That strange phrasing. Why would relief be close if the nearest ships are 2 weeks away? "I don't know," Sujin admitted. But, Admiral Choi doesn't say things without reason. She's telling us to hold. Against 200 warships? Yes, Sujin said firmly. Send a message to all settlements. No evacuation. We're staying. And, get your ships ready, Captain. Young-Soo looked at her like she was insane, but, he followed orders. His 8 small patrol ships moved into defensive positions between the planet and the Dralian fleet. It was laughable, really. 8 ships against 200. But, sometimes courage mattered more than odds. The colonists received the news with mixed reactions. Some wanted to evacuate, to save their families. Others were angry, ready to fight even if it meant dying. Sujin addressed them all via broadcast, her voice steady despite her fear. I won't lie to you, she said. We're facing overwhelming force. But, this is our home. We built it with our own hands. We raised our children here. And, I believe Earth hasn't abandoned us. I believe help is coming. So we're going to do what humans do best, we're going to stand our ground and show them we don't scare easily. The 12 hours passed slowly. Dralian ships moved closer, weapon systems coming online. News drones from various galactic networks positioned themselves to record what everyone assumed would be a massacre. This was going to be transmitted across the entire galaxy. Kravesh sent one final message. Human colony, this is your last warning. Evacuate immediately or face the consequences. Sujin stood in the command center, surrounded by her staff. Young-Soo waited for orders from his ship. The colonists watched from their homes, holding their loved ones. Earth was too far away to help in time. And, then, Young-Soo did something unexpected. He broadcast a message on all frequencies, repeating over and over, Protocol silence is now active. Protocol silence is now active. Sujin had never heard of protocol silence. Neither had anyone else on the colony. But, Young-Soo's face showed something that looked almost like hope. What is that? Sujin demanded. What's protocol silence? I don't know, Governor, Young-Soo admitted. But, I received orders 3 hours ago. If the Dralians didn't withdraw, I was to broadcast that exact message and hold position no matter what. Kravesh heard the message too. His tactical officers confirmed they were intercepting it. What is protocol silence? He asked his staff. No one knew. Searches of military databases showed nothing. It didn't match any known human communication code. It was probably nothing, just a desperate bluff. They're trying to buy time, one of his officers suggested. Kravesh agreed. Begin the attack. Target the human defense ships first. Leave the colony intact if they surrender immediately after their ships are destroyed. If not, prepare for orbital bombardment. The Dralian fleet advanced. 200 ships against 8. The galaxy watched, expecting humanity's frontier to be crushed. Many felt sympathy for the colonists but knew there was nothing anyone could do. The Dralians were within their legal rights to claim contested territory, even if the claim was questionable. On New Jeju, parents held their children. Soldiers checked their weapons. Governor Sujin stood straight, refusing to show fear even though terror filled her heart. Young-Soo's ships maintained their position, broadcasting the same message, protocol silence is now active. The Dralian weapons locked onto their targets. Energy built in the massive ship cannons, enough power to vaporize the small human vessels in seconds. Across the galaxy, people watched screens, unable to look away from the tragedy about to unfold. Kravesh gave the order. Fire. The weapons discharged, sending brilliant beams of energy across the void toward the human ships. It would take seconds for the beams to cross the distance, seconds that felt like hours. And, then, space itself seemed to break. Between the Dralian fleet and the colony, reality rippled. Colors appeared that had no names, light bent in ways that defied physics. The energy beams from the Dralian ship scattered, dissipating harmlessly as they hit the distortion. Everyone stared in shock at what was emerging from the impossible tear in space. It was a hole, a wound in reality itself, growing larger by the second. 300 kilometers across, swirling with energies that made instruments scream in protest. From this artificial wormhole came a ship. No, not a ship. A city. A mobile fortress. A monument to human engineering that should not exist. The HSN Taejong the Great emerged into normal space, 30 kilometers from bow to stern, 5 kilometers wide. Its hull was dark metal that seemed to absorb light, covered in structures and towers that resembled a cityscape. Thousands of windows glowed with internal lights. Weapon ports studded its surface like stars. The vessel's mere presence caused gravitational distortions. Dralian targeting systems went haywire, unable to lock onto anything. Sensor arrays overloaded. Communication networks filled with confused chatter from ships trying to understand what they were seeing. The human patrol ships had stopped broadcasting their message. They had moved aside, making way for the Supercarrier. A new voice came across all frequencies, calm and professional. This is Fleet Admiral Minji Choi of the Human Space Navy. The Dralian Empire has committed an act of war against a sovereign human colony. This aggression will not be tolerated. Kravesh stared at the impossible vessel on his displays, his mind struggling to process what he was seeing. Ships didn't appear from nowhere. Ships didn't open holes in space. Ships certainly weren't 30 kilometers long. Analysis, he barked at his tactical officer. Sir, the sensors can't properly measure it. The gravitational distortion is interfering with everything. Mass estimates range from impossible to more impossible. Energy readings are off every scale. That thing is generating more power than our entire fleet combined. Across the Dralian Armada, similar reports came in. No one understood what they were looking at. The vessel defied everything they knew about ship construction and physics. It was too big, too powerful, too advanced. On New Jeju, Governor Sujin watched through the command center's displays, tears streaming down her face. They came, she whispered. Earth came for us. Captain Young-soo was grinning despite himself. That's what protocol silence meant. That's what they were hiding near Jupiter. Not weapons facilities. This. The supercarrier's hull began to open in multiple locations. From these hangars emerged smaller craft, though smaller was relative. Each one was the size of a normal fighter, but there were so many of them. Hundreds poured out, then thousands, forming up in precise formations around the massive carrier. Fleet Admiral Minji Choi's voice continued, broadcasting from the Taejong the Great. Warlord Kravesh, you have made a critical error in judgment. New Jeju is a legally recognized human colony. Your claim of contested territory is baseless and your attack was unprovoked. Earth demands your immediate withdrawal. Kravesh tried to regain control of the situation. This vessel violates the Armament Limitation Treaty. Earth has no legal authority to deploy such weapons. Actually, a new voice joined the conversation. Ambassador Jaewon Kim, speaking from the Galactic Council chambers light years away but connected via quantum communications. The Armament Limitation Treaty restricts fixed installations and conventional warship numbers. It says nothing about mobile battle stations or vessels operating in fold space. Earth's legal team reviewed the treaty very carefully when we designed the Taejong the Great. Another voice cut in, this one belonging to High Arbiter Kelnoth. The Council demands an immediate ceasefire. Both parties are ordered to stand down while this matter is investigated. With respect, High Arbiter, Jaewon replied, Earth will be happy to stand down once the Dralian fleet withdraws from our territory. They fired first. They threatened our civilians. The Taejong the Great is here purely for defensive purposes. Minji watched the tactical displays on the carrier's bridge. The 3,000 combat drones had finished deploying, surrounding the Dralian fleet in a perfect sphere. Each drone operated with artificial intelligence far beyond what any other species had achieved, capable of independent action while coordinating with the entire swarm. "Warlord," she said calmly, "I strongly suggest you reconsider your position. Your ships are currently surrounded by autonomous combat units that can move and react faster than any living pilot. Your weapons systems are experiencing targeting difficulties due to our gravitational field generators. And this vessel is armed with weapons technology your scientists would need another century to understand." She paused, letting that sink in. "But, we don't want to fight. We want you to leave. Do so now, and this incident ends here." Kravesh was in an impossible situation. His pride demanded he fight, but his tactical sense screamed danger. "You're bluffing," he said, trying to sound confident. "One ship against 200, no matter how large." "Then, let me demonstrate," Minji said. "Observer drones, please note what you're about to see. We want this recorded for the Galactic Council." The Taejong the Great's forward weapons array activated. It wasn't a visible light weapon or an energy beam. Instead, reality itself seemed to compress in front of the massive vessel, creating a sphere of darkness that hurt to look at. "That," Minji explained conversationally, "is a localized gravity well generator. It creates artificial black hole effects without actually forming a singularity. Very useful for non-lethal demonstrations. Watch what happens when we aim it at that asteroid." She designated a large asteroid floating several million kilometers away, nowhere near the battle but visible to all sensors. The darkness sphere shot forward at impossible speed and engulfed the asteroid. The rock simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not vaporized. Just gone, crushed down to atomic particles by gravitational force that shouldn't be possible. "That was on minimum power," Minji added. "We have 7 more weapon systems I could demonstrate, but I think the point is made. Withdraw your fleet, Warlord." In the Galactic Council chambers, absolute chaos had erupted. Representatives from dozens of species were shouting questions, demands, accusations. Jaiwan stood calmly in the center of it all, waiting for order to be restored. Counselor Vextar was screaming about deception and betrayal. "Earth hid this from us. They lied about their military capabilities." "No," Jaiwan corrected firmly. "Earth simply chose not to advertise. The Armament Limitation Treaty required us to report fixed installations and ship counts. We complied. The treaty said nothing about vessels operating in dimensional fold space. The treaty said nothing about new propulsion systems or weapon types. We found a legal path forward and took it. You deliberately deceived the Council. We protected our interests while following the letter of every treaty we signed," Jaiwan replied. "Which is exactly what the Dralian Empire does, by the way. Or do you want to discuss the 17 colony worlds you've established in gray zones that technically violate the spirit of the border treaty?" That shut Vextar up temporarily. Every major power bent the rules. Earth had just done it more successfully than anyone expected. High Arbiter Kelnoth raised his arms again. "The Council will address these matters. But, first, we must prevent bloodshed at Tau Ceti. Ambassador Kim, can you guarantee that Earth will not fire unless fired upon?" "Of course," Jaiwan said. "Earth has no desire for war. We simply insist on protecting our people. If the Dralian fleet withdraws peacefully, the Taejong the Great will return to its assigned patrol route." Back at Tau Ceti, Kravesh was consulting frantically with his officers and with Dralian High Command. The conversation was brief and brutal. Fight an unknown enemy with unknown capabilities, or retreat and save his fleet for another day. All ships, he finally ordered, hating every word. Prepare to withdraw. We're leaving the system. Sir, an officer asked, shocked. We outnumber them. We outnumber one ship, Kravesh corrected grimly. We have no idea how many more they have hidden. And, I'm not willing to lose the third armada to find out. The Dralian fleet began pulling back, moving away from New Jeju and, forming up for faster-than-light travel. The human combat drones tracked them but, didn't attack. The Taejong the Great maintained its position, a silent guardian over the colony. On the carrier's bridge, another woman stood beside Admiral Minji Choi. She wore a different uniform, one that marked her as the vessel's actual commander. Admiral Yoonji Song had captained the Taejong the Great since its construction began decades ago. They're running, Yoonji observed. Good. I didn't want to actually shoot them. That gravity well weapon took 3 months to calculate properly. The council is going to have questions, Minji said. Let them ask, Yoonji replied. We've shown them one carrier. They don't need to know about the other 6. Or the 23 being built, Minji added quietly. Both admirals smiled. Earth had been preparing for this moment for 30 years, ever since the first serious military threat from a larger empire. Humanity had learned early that the galaxy respected strength. So they had built strength in secret, preparing for the day they would need it. Governor Sujin received a direct communication from Admiral Minji. Governor Han, are you and your people safe? Yes, Admiral, Sujin replied, her voice breaking with emotion. Thank you. Thank you so much. Just doing our job, Minji said warmly. Earth doesn't abandon its people. Ever. The Taejong the Great will remain in your system for the next month, just to make sure the Dralians remember that. As the Dralian fleet jumped to faster-than-light travel and, fled, news drones transmitted images across the galaxy. Every species watched. Every government received the footage. Earth, the young civilization that everyone had underestimated, had just revealed a technological achievement that changed everything. The silence that descended across the galaxy wasn't silence in sound. Communications networks buzzed with activity. But, it was the silence of shock, of species suddenly, realizing they had miscalculated badly. High Arbiter Kelnoth watched the footage again in his private chambers. 30 kilometers, he murmured to himself. They built a ship 30 kilometers long and, hid it so well we never knew. His aide asked the obvious question. What else are they hiding? That, the Arbiter said, is what now terrifies me. 3 days after the incident at Tau Ceti, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Every species sent representatives. Every news network broadcast the proceedings. This was history being made, and everyone knew it. Ambassador Jaewon Kim stood at the defendant's platform again, but the atmosphere was completely different from last time. Where before there had been contempt and dismissal, now there was wariness. Fear, even. The delegates looked at her and saw not a representative of a minor power, but someone who might be holding cards no one else could match. Counselor Vextar stood to speak, though he looked much less confident than during the last session. Ambassador Kim, Earth owes this council an explanation. The vessel you deployed at Tau Ceti represents a level of military technology that threatens the balance of power across the entire galaxy. Does it? Jaewon asked mildly. Or does it merely equalize a balance that was already tilted against humanity? For 300 years, Earth has watched larger empires dictate terms to smaller civilizations. We've seen colonies forcibly relocated, trade routes monopolized by threat of military force, and young species pressured into unequal treaties. The Taejong the Great is Earth's insurance policy. Nothing more, nothing less. You lied to us, an Vorton delegate accused. The inspection found nothing. The inspection found exactly what it was legally entitled to find, Jaewon corrected. Our industrial operations in the Jupiter region. The Armament Limitation Treaty requires transparency about fixed installations and conventional military vessels. Earth complied fully. The treaty never mentioned mobile battle stations operating in full space. That's not lying. That's reading the fine print. High Arbiter Kelnoth studied her carefully. You're claiming the Taejong the Great exists in a legal gray area? No, High Arbiter. I'm claiming it exists in complete legal compliance with every treaty Earth has signed. Our legal team has prepared a comprehensive brief detailing exactly how the vessel's construction, deployment, and operation conform to all relevant galactic laws. The brief is available for your review. Jaiwan gestured, and documents began appearing on delegates' data pads throughout the chamber. The Vorten legal experts would spend weeks analyzing it, but the basic truth was undeniable. Earth had found a loophole large enough to fit a 30-kilometer ship through it. Technicalities, Vexstar said dismissively. The spirit of the treaty was to limit military expansion. The spirit of the treaty, Jaiwan replied sharply, was to prevent war. Tell me, Counselor, has Earth started any wars? Have we invaded anyone's territory? Have we threatened peaceful species? No. We built a defensive capability. The Dralian Empire, however, attacked a civilian colony. Perhaps we should be discussing their violations instead of ours. The Dralian delegation had no good response to that. Kravesha's attack on New Jeju had been broadcast across the galaxy. Everyone had seen who fired first. President Jae-hyun-oh requested permission to address the council via quantum communication. His image appeared on the main display, speaking from Earth itself. He looked calm, presidential, every inch a leader who knew he held a winning hand. Members of the Galactic Council, he began, I want to be clear about Earth's intentions. We do not seek war. We do not seek domination. We seek only the security to live in peace and the respect that every civilization deserves. For decades, humanity has been seen as junior partners in galactic affairs. That changes now. He paused, letting his words sink in. The Taejong the Great is one of 7 such vessels currently in service. These battle stations can project Earth's defensive capabilities anywhere in known space within hours. They are equipped with propulsion systems that allow travel through full space, bypassing normal faster-than-light limitations. They carry enough firepower to defend against any conventional fleet. The chamber erupted in noise. 7 such vessels. The implications were staggering. A single supercarrier had frightened away the Dralian Third Armada. 7 could challenge any military power in the galaxy. President Jae-hyun waited for silence to return. However, I want to demonstrate that Earth's intentions are peaceful. Admiral Song, please proceed with the demonstration. At Tau Ceti, Admiral Yoonji Song stood on the bridge of the Taejong the Great. At her command, the massive vessel's full space generators activated. The artificial wormhole opened again, that impossible tear in reality. The supercarrier entered the wormhole and vanished from Tau Ceti. 17 minutes later, it emerged in Earth orbit, having crossed a distance that would take conventional vessels 3 weeks. Sensor stations throughout the galaxy tracked its progress, confirming what seemed impossible. Yoonji broadcast to the Council. As you can see, Earth's supercarriers can respond to any threat in any region of known space rapidly. This isn't just offensive technology. This is strategic deterrence. No empire can threaten Earth or our colonies without knowing we can respond immediately with overwhelming force. The message was clear. Earth couldn't be bullied anymore. Earth couldn't be pressured. Earth had just rewritten the rules of galactic military power. In the council chambers, smaller species began to see opportunity. If Earth had this capability and claimed to be interested in peace, perhaps humanity could be an ally against the aggressive empires that had dominated for centuries. The representative from the Techie Confederation, a small nation that had been pressured by the Dralians for years, stood to speak. Ambassador Kim, would Earth be interested in defensive alliance agreements? Many smaller species would feel more secure knowing we had access to your protection. Jaiwan smiled slightly. Earth is always open to discussions with peaceful civilizations. We believe in mutual defense and cooperative security. Within hours, requests for meetings flooded Earth's diplomatic offices. A dozen species wanted to discuss alliances, trade agreements, technology sharing. Earth had gone from being a minor player to being courted by half the galaxy. The Dralian Empire issued a formal apology for the Tau Ceti incident. They claimed Warlord Kravesh had acted without proper authorization and had been relieved of command. Everyone knew it was face-saving language, but Earth accepted graciously. There was no point in humiliating the Dralians further. On New Jeju, Governor Sujin Han addressed her people in a celebration that lasted 3 days. We stood our ground, she told them. We refused to run. And Earth stood with us. This is what it means to be human. We take care of our own. The Taejong the Great remained in orbit around the colony for a full month, as promised. Its presence attracted tourists from across the galaxy, civilians who wanted to see the legendary vessel in person. Earth allowed limited tours, turning the Supercarrier into a symbol of human achievement. Fleet Admiral Minji Choi returned to Earth to coordinate the new defensive arrangements. She met with President Jae-hyun and the military council to discuss strategy going forward. The galaxy knows about 7 carriers now, one admiral noted. Do we tell them about the others? No, President Jae-hyun said firmly. Let them think 7 is all we have. Let them wonder if there might be more. Uncertainty is its own weapon. Minji agreed. The construction facilities in the asteroid belt are still hidden. The fold space technology is still secret. We've shown them enough to change their behavior without revealing everything. In a secure facility on Luna, Admiral Yoonji Song met with the other supercarrier commanders. 7 of them, each commanding one of the revealed vessels. They discussed tactics, training, operational procedures. Then, Yoonji addressed the larger group. For those of you still in construction phase, she said, looking at the representatives of 23 incomplete supercarriers, your secrecy just became even more important. The galaxy thinks 7 is our entire force. They've adjusted their strategic planning accordingly. But, in 10 years, when you're all operational, Earth will have 30 battle stations capable of dominating any region of space. One of the construction supervisors asked, why hide them? Why not reveal everything now and achieve complete deterrence? Because, Yoonji explained, deterrence only works if it's believable. 7 supercarriers are impressive but manageable in the minds of other species. 30 would seem like preparation for conquest. We don't want to scare the galaxy into a preemptive alliance against us. We want to be seen as strong enough to defend ourselves, not strong enough to threaten everyone. The strategy was subtle but effective. Earth would maintain just enough visible strength to discourage aggression while building overwhelming force in secret. By the time anyone realized humanity's true capabilities, it would be too late to stop them. Ambassador Jaiwan Kim stood in her office on the council station, looking out at the stars. Commander Hyunwoo Park joined her, carrying a data pad with the latest alliance requests. 37 species want meetings, he reported. 12 have offered mutual defense pacts. 5 want to purchase the fold space technology. We're not selling the technology, Jaiwan said. That's our advantage. Once it spreads, we lose the strategic edge. The Council is proposing a new treaty, Hyunwoo continued. The Balance of Power Accord. It would formalize Earth's position as a major military power while establishing new rules for conflict resolution. Let me guess, Jaiwan said. Rules that prevent Earth from deploying our supercarriers without Council approval? Essentially, yes. We'll review the proposal, Jaiwan decided. But, we won't agree to anything that restricts our ability to defend our people. The Dralians taught us that lesson at Tau Ceti. When threats come, they come fast. We need to be able to respond immediately. Weeks became months. The galaxy adjusted to the new reality. Earth became a major player in galactic politics, consulted on important decisions, included in high-level negotiations. The age of humanity being dismissed as young and insignificant was over. In her private quarters aboard the Taejong the Great, Admiral Yoonji Song reviewed the latest intelligence reports. Other species were trying to develop their own fold space technology, but the mathematics defeated them. Earth's advantage would hold for decades at least. She opened a secure communication channel to Admiral Minji Choi. Status update on the Shadow Fleet. Minji's face appeared on screen. All 30 vessels are progressing on schedule. The first 5 of the new construction should be operational within 3 years. Good, Yoonji said. The galaxy thinks it knows our strength now. They've calculated. They've planned. They think they understand the balance of power. Should we tell them they're wrong? Minji asked with a slight smile. No, Yoonji replied. Let them think they understand. Let them feel secure in their knowledge. That's when we're safest. The communication ended. Yoonji returned to watching the stars, thinking about the future. Humanity had spent 300 years being underestimated, being pressured, being treated as lesser. Those days were done. Earth had unveiled one card from its hand, and the galaxy had reacted with shock. But, humanity held many more cards, and they would be played carefully, strategically, only when necessary. Ambassador Jaiwan Kim had said it perfectly in her final statement to the Council. Earth has nothing to hide, she had said. But, that doesn't mean we have to explain everything. The galaxy had learned to respect humanity. Now they would learn to be careful around them. Because Earth had proven something fundamental about human nature, they were patient, they were clever, and, when pushed, they responded not with anger but, with overwhelming, carefully planned superiority. The silence that had descended across the galaxy when the Taejong the Great first appeared continued in a different form. It was the silence of species thinking carefully before speaking. The silence of empires reconsidering their expansion plans. The silence of bullies realizing their victim had grown up and become stronger than them. And, in that silence, humanity thrived.